Hey guys, welcome to the pre-show. Pre-showism. We don't do much in the pre-show other than just make sure we're all set up everywhere. And listen to that feedback. There you go. Good thing I have a pre-show, huh? So let's see. Reload page. Something went wrong, it said. Not sure what. We'll find out. It's something else. Just stuff going on my computer. And bing, bang, boom. There's that. Go there. Wow, that does not want to respond. Right. So how's everybody tonight? I know this isn't scintillating radio, but it is the pre-show. And I am getting set up. So far, so good. And time is it? 9:01. We got 2 minutes left before we go live over on subspace.radio. That's coming up. So I hope you're all doing well today. Do you realize that daylight savings time starts on Sunday already for the spring? Spring forward. Set your clocks forward an hour. And we're supposed to have more daylight now. Or at least saving what the heck? Cancel. Wow, I don't know. Is my computer dragging? Is my video dragging? Because everything else on my computer is dragging right now. We got 1 minute left and several seconds. We go live. Hey, Matt Finn, good to see you. Barbie D, Field Guy, and Leslie Holker, good to see you. Yeah, I've realized that for the last 2 months now, she says. Yeah, I'm ready for spring. I'm ready for a little warmer weather. It's going to snow tonight. But that's the way it is, you know. It's the way it is. There it is. Boom. That worked. All right. Bada boom. Okay, good. With 1 minute to spare, I got something technical to work. How about that? All right. There we are. I got nothing left to do until we get started. In about 10 seconds, we'll go dark. So hang on. Let's go dark now. And in about 12 seconds, we'll be live. Stand.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Well, hey, everyone. Happy Wednesday evening. Welcome to the program. I'm Scotty Roberts, your host, and this is my show, the Intrepid radio program, right here on the Odyssey, not the Odyssey. Look at how fast I did that for 4 years. Not the Odyssey radio network. That's Rocky. That's Ron. That's everybody else. That's how deeply embedded that is in my brain. The subspace.radio, Subspace Radio Network. You go to subspace.radio, and, you know, most of the characters are all the same. Russ is the same, and he was bought out of Odyssey, and so now he's Subspace. And sometimes when I'm not thinking, it just pours out like that. It's a good thing I don't do that to my wife. You know, go back to the former wife and call out her name. It has never happened. I have to be... There's times I've caught myself when we're talking or something, and it goes, and I got a click in my brain, but I've never called her by the former wife's name. So hopefully that's not as serious as saying that over here on subspace.radio. At least Russ likes me, so I'm okay if I make a mistake like that. But yes, the network is subspace.radio, not Odyssey Radio. And you can listen to the audio stream live there. You can listen to rebroadcasts of it the next day. And you can also watch this show in its video simulcast over on Facebook and several different places, and right here on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/ Scotty Roberts. And when you're there, subscribe if you're not subscribed by hitting that little subscribe button. And then hit the little bell. The little bell will give you announcements when we come online. And also, if you'd like to support this show, click on the little join button down below the screen here somewhere. And you can see 3 different ways that you can help support this show. As cheap as $1 a month. And also, just got to say here, if you come to support us, the shows are always free. There's no charge. So that's just kind of out of the goodness of your heart. If you want to contribute that way, there it is. It's there for you. So thank you already for all of you who are here. We started going through some. Carly Sagan, I see you in there. You gave such a vivacious greeting when you first popped into the room. It's nice to see you. We don't get to see you every day. And so it's always a pleasure and heartwarming to see you here in the chat room. I hope Kinsey's doing well tonight, and Roger as well. Barbie D, Matt Finn, Leslie Holker. Who else? We got Steve Clark. Good to see you, Steve. YouTube, quit giving me any notifications for any channel. I don't know why, Steve. I wish I could speak for them. If I could, they'd be doing things a lot differently in many different areas. Field Guy is here. Good to see you. Looks like Uncle Dave is around somewhere because I see some. There he is. I think I hear explosion from here if he called Rainey and that. Yeah, I don't think Rainey would explode. I think she would be like, you want to rephrase that? So she gets it. She never calls me Adam or anything like that. So I guess I'm okay. But we don't use our names a lot. Sometimes I'll yell, Rainey, if I need something. But as funny as it seems, I swore I would never do this when I was a younger man. I call Rainey Ma. She's not my ma. I did it on the way down here to do radio. I said, I love you, Ma. And then I stopped because I said to all the kids, I said goodnight to all of them. And Ellie was sitting there with Mom. And I said, good night, Ellie. I love you. And I go, Ma, I love you. And she goes, I love you too. And I said, well, not my ma of my kids, as I'm walking down the stairs, qualifying my statement. Ma of my kids, not ma to me. Ma, if I want to call you that, you're other things. And I kept trailing off. And she goes, yeah, as I'm going down the stairs. So that's her, by the way, her pet answer for everything I say. I said to her, I don't know what time today, sometime throughout the course of the day. And I go, hey, good looking mama. And I said, hey, hot mama. I call her and she's like, is her typical response. But I love it. I call Andrea Ma too, mostly to be silly, says Matt Finn. Ma, the meatloaf. There you go. Yeah, I call Rainey Ma when all the kids are on. Hey, Ma. Hey, Ma. What do you think these kids should be doing right now, Ma? She says, I got a pretty good idea. Ma, the meatloaf. F, says Carly Sagan. So that's pretty cool, Matt Finn. You might have to explain the meatloaf part to us if you want to share that. Sean Stroik, good to see you, brother. Nice to have you in here. I want to do one thing before we get into tonight's show. Oh, look, Rainey made like enchilada things. You know what she does? She took and she got chicken and she pressure cooked the chicken. And it gets it all stringy and stuff, and she puts spices in it and all that. And it's kind of like chicken. It's stringy chicken, all right? And then you take that and you put it on a big tortilla shell that she gets you. And you spread sour cream on it. And you throw down the chicken. And I put lettuce. It's not lettuce, spinach on mine. And cheese and shredded tomatoes that have onions and stuff all put into them, and a little bit of taco sauce, and boom, there it is. And I made 2 of them, and like that's all I made it through. So that's my 2/3 of one I could not finish off, but that's sitting on top of my stuff. I just set my plate over here on top of things. So I just want to show you that. That's Rainey's cooking. That's her quick cooking when she's got stuff going on. Now I cook too. I don't expect my wife to cook a meal every night. I cook too, but she usually takes that task on because she complains about everything I cook. So she doesn't like my cooking, even though my cooking is good. You ask everybody else in the world who's eaten my cooking, even Uncle Dave. Now, I want to do one of these before we get into tonight's topic, affirmators. This is that little deck of cards that Rainey got me. She picked up a little job at the thrift store locally, the local thrift store, you know. And just to fill in, because she did a lot of shopping there, she said, hey, that's going to be cool. I'm going to go get a job at the thrift store, and then I can get cool stuff. You know, it's like going to Goodwill and finding things, and then she comes home with cool stuff. I got stuff around here she got at the thrift store, but I can't think of what it is. So let me shuffle this up. This is kind of a lighthearted deck of cards. It's not like oracle cards or tarot cards. And it's pretty much just anybody could put these together. You wouldn't even have to have spiritual beliefs to put these together, unless you're writing them with, a little more meat to them. It's meant to be lighthearted, and you can tell by the rabbit riding the unicorn, jumping the rainbow on the front of the cards. So I'm going to cut this deck, and let's just pull a card for today. And it's late in the day, but what the hell? Card off the top of the deck. This one says, oh, we just did that one the other day. How did I get the same card? I'm going to put it back on timing. Let's just take one out of the middle of the deck. There you go. Those spirits of the affirmator cards. There we go. Here's our card. What's it say? Everyone's a teacher is today's affirmator. Everyone I cross paths with is a teacher in that moment. The ones who give me the fun lessons are the ones I call friends. The ones who give me the hard lessons I sometimes call assholes. They've chosen a tough job, but someone's got to do it. So today I'm thanking all the assholes. Thank you, assholes, for playing your part in making me a better person. It seems to me we had this one once before. Maybe we did. How do I keep drawing this? But I think it's a good message, and it's great. So everyone I cross paths is a teacher, the good people and the assholes. How many lessons have you learned from assholes today? That's probably a really good question to ask yourself. That guy's an asshole, but did it teach you something? She's an asshole, but did it teach you something? Did you learn something from it? Do you move on from that? Do you gain something from that? All animals are teachers too, says Sean Stroik, not just assholes. Yeah, I agree with you, brother. I agree with you. Let's see. Bing, bang, boom. That's what I got. Maybe the reverse ones we've done in the deck. And maybe reverse the ones we've done in the deck. I could do that. And we'll do a different card next time. So, Elderberry, good to see you. Welcome to the chat room. And so tonight, I want to talk about something that I think is an important topic. It's not a historical topic. It's not a deeply spiritual topic. It's not a political topic. But it's a topic that I think about. I've thought about it a lot. You know, with the quote that I've chosen for my mantra from Mark Twain that says, 20 years from now, you'll regret more the things you didn't do than the things you did do. So cast off from the safe harbor. Set your sails to the trade winds. Explore, dream, discover. Now, wrapped up in all of that is this idea of enjoying our lives. Were our lives meant to be a drudgery? To not enjoy? To not be happy? Think of, and I think of the church, but it's not specifically the church. Church back in Renaissance times or even medieval times. You know, that there were some practitioners of faith that believed you couldn't be happy. And to show happiness, they extended that into sex. Sex wasn't about joy or happiness or having fun with your spouse. Sex was about reproduction, and that's it. And there's no happiness, there's no joy. And the staunch, the stoic, the whatever. And maybe there's some benefit to some people who want to be stoic. I'm not one of them. Now, do I act like I'm happy all the time? Some days, I think. There are things, and Wendy and I talked about this in Robertson yesterday. There are some things that are buried, and you scratch the surface, and they ooze out, and it changes everything. I tend to be a person who has put on I don't want to call it a facade because I associate facade with fake, with unreal, with imaginary, with covering up what's really there. And maybe there is some of that to a sense, but I don't put on a facade as much as I have an exterior that I show people, that if I let all the darkness and all the grayness of life, all the unhappy things, all the things that have happened to us in the past, if we wore that on our sleeves and on our faces every day, um, I think we'd be a really hard people to be around. We would not be happy people, and people would not be happy being around us. And maybe some of us don't show it outwardly, but we wear it on our face in a different way. You look at the lines in our faces, the scowls. I've noticed I got these scowl marks that I've had on my face. And is it from scowling, or is it just age? Just, I look at myself when I've got guests and we're talking on the radio, and I sometimes notice myself in the monitor, and I'm looking and I'm like this, and I'm like, oh, I got to lighten up that scowl. I mean, I give myself headaches sometimes doing that, tension headaches. So what is it that you put outward that might be covering what you've got inward? If there's deep sadness that we have, sometimes we put on that outward show, and we have to show ourselves, in a sense, the facade of not being totally sunk under in our sadness. Otherwise, we'd be sad all the time. How do you strive to get above that? What are the things you do to get above that? And the topic I chose for tonight is something to do with play and the essence of play, the essence of pleasure, the essence of joy, and trusting in a culture that's opposed to play. And in a sense, we all might be in this mode of recovering lost states of well-being, because we all have stuff that have stolen our joy. We've all had stuff that have stolen our pleasure. We've all got things that we can look at and say, well, when it comes down to it, I don't have a lot to be happy about. And so it's kind of this idea that some people struggle their whole lifetimes to find a sense of wonder and a sense of joy, or to recover those things. Because many times, I got to tell you, if we let the things that hit us between the eyes every day on a daily basis, in life, in our families, in our work, in everything, if we let those govern who we are, we might have to reclaim some sense of wonder and joy. If there was things that happened to you in your past, if there are loved ones that have died, gone on, we put these words on them. Oh, they've passed on. They've gone on to a better place. No, they died. They're gone. They're dead and gone. And sometimes we deal with those things and we never recover from the unhappiness of that, unless we make ourselves recover from that. And it's a thing where I've got damages to me from my past. If I camped there and lived there, I would be a woeful person indeed. So what do they say? You fake it till you make it, kind of thing. So a long, long, long time ago, decades ago, I put on the face of, hey, how are you today? Hey, I'm good. How are you? When inside, I might be totally destroyed or a wreck. And we do that not only for other people, but for ourselves. So we don't sink ourselves every day. Leslie says in the chat room, I'm quite frankly sick and tired of having the stool kicked out from under me. Yeah, I get that. Uncle Dave and I have talked many times over the years, along with some other friends of ours that are close, about all the creative things that we have worked at doing in our lives, and we're still at our ages, Dave in his mid to late 50s, me in my early 60s, other people I know the same age group, that are still struggling. And it makes one bitter. It makes one unhappy. It says, I started off 40 years ago, 35 years ago, doing these wonderful things that would bring me this wonderful place in life. And then we find, hey, I'm never going to be able to retire at the rate I'm going. And so there are things like that that happen to us on top of loss of loved ones, loss of friends. I've had so many friends pass away. It's unbelievable. I've had some that, quite frankly, have hurt very deeply, and that will never go away. But it's like I learned something. It wasn't Ruben, but it was a guy on Instagram. He's Native American. He does Native American language things. Seems to be a very joyful, peaceful person. And he gets on and he talks something. He gives a little language lesson in a minute or two. And there was one, he said, you know the phrase forgive and forget? He says, in our language, we don't have a word for that. He says, because we don't forget. We never tell anybody forgive and forget. And he gave the word, and the definition was one, I don't forget, I act as if it is no longer important, is what the word means in his language. Now, take and extrapolate that over into the things that we work very hard at forgetting from our pasts, the pains, the sufferings, the unhappinesses. Look at that stuff and say, I may never forget that. There might be griefs I will never get over, but I need to act as if I do not remember them. It's not that I've forgotten them, it's that I choose to not remember that pain. And that's how we move forward. So, more on this, on a straight line on this topic of joy and wonder. So there's some people that struggle for their whole lives, and they never really find a sense of wonder and joy. And our culture can trick us into thinking that playtime, this is what I want to focus on, and freedom come through external means. And I'm waiting for Michelle Cannon-Free to jump on some of this with some of her wisdom and her isms. But it doesn't come through external means. It's like that little meme I put up, and I've mentioned this before, 2 little stick figures. One of them's got a big frown, and the other one's happy, and he's holding a jar that says happiness. And the one guy says, oh, where did you find that? I've been looking for that my entire life. And the other one said, oh, I made it myself. So our culture tricks us into thinking that play and freedom come through external means. And the freedom that we give ourselves often stretches only as far as what fits the culture's definition of what is happiness, joy, and acceptable. So can you remember when you were a kid and being curious as a child, bold, creative, unable to question or challenge? Can you remember what it was like not caring about how you looked? I think of that with my son every day. My son's 13. You'd think he'd start thinking about this. My son will get up in the morning. He needs a haircut really bad. He looks like a hobbit in about 2 months if I don't take him for regular haircuts. His hair now is like, and he gets up and he doesn't wash his face in the morning. He's just a boy. He's a boy. And his hair's sticking up all over. It's like Frodo. And I'm like, son, you're going to go splash some water on your face? I wasn't thinking about it. Well, maybe, go ahead and do that. They don't care what they look like. You remember when it was like to not care that much about what you looked like? That usually comes toward the end of puberty. Do you remember what it was like to have a vivid imagination? That you believed whatever you imagined could come true. I still do that. I still want to be a starship captain. It could happen. I still want to find a genie in a bottle, preferably Barbara Eden, but if it's not Barbara Eden, a genie in the bottle that could grant me 3 wishes. Way in the back of my head is that thinking of, well, that's not so far-fetched. I believe there are jinn, but that's different. Maybe one of these days I'll find that genie in a bottle and I'll get the 3 wishes I want. Now, I don't really believe that, but that imagination is back there working on that all the time. So these experiences we had as kids are the essence of play. And play is that behavioral manifestation of psychological freedom and joy. And freedom is part of humanity's quest, isn't it? Our nation has it. As well, that's the way we were founded, anyway. It's woven into the very fabric of our existence to be free. Unfortunately, not all of us get to experience play as children. And due to the frailty of human character, some people struggle for a lifetime to find a sense of wonder and joy. And perhaps they've engaged in playful activities, but their creative thoughts, their imaginative freedoms, their sense of wonder are absolutely constrained, and they've never really experienced it fully. What's it like to, it would be like saying you're free, but not feeling free ever. Not being able to feel free. And um, it's like I've mentioned before, my old pastor, Parson Larson, in the Christian faith, and this is the context of it. He said, if the devil can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. And it took me a second the first time I heard him say that. If the devil can't make me bad, he'll make me busy. If he can't get me to do bad things, if he can't get me evil, he'll sap my time. He'll find things to sap my time. Now, I don't think the devil spends his time on us individually. If you want to look at that hierarchy in Scripture, I think there's a lot of other beings that do that. I think the devil is a singular being. He's not omnipresent like God. Can't be everywhere at one time. If you believe in those things. I don't know what your faith tells you. But that aside, there are lots of things that will distract us from being the good person we want to be, or the fun person we want to be, or enjoying life the way we want to. Are you shackled to your bills? Are you shackled to your job? The things that shackle us. Look at our society, our culture, the things that we have to do to maintain a house, to maintain a car or two. I'm not talking about having the second house and the third and fourth and fifth cars. I'm talking about just existence nowadays. Sometimes it takes everything you have to do that. This is where I brought up, we get so sidetracked with doing the stuff of life, mowing the lawn, taking out the trash, doing the dishes, fixing things around the house and all that. Maybe we draw joy out of that because this is our place and that's our freedom. But have you ever felt shackled by any of that? Like, I am stuck in this job. I cannot travel. I cannot see things. I cannot do. You can do anything you want to do. It's what you're willing to pay to get that done. It's the sacrifices you're willing to make. Like with Rainey and I, we decided a very long time ago. I'm not saying this is the perfect example. I'm just saying this is how it fits for us. A very long time ago when we started having kids. She was pregnant with Flynn 14 years ago. He was born, 13 and a half years ago now. So we decided at that time, are you going to work? What do you want to do? And we decided that, and I pretty much wanted to do what she wanted to do on this. Although I did bring things to the table. I said, I think we ought to do this and strive for this. One of the things is I said, I didn't want to have and I'm not condemning anybody who does this, so don't take it the wrong way if you're hearing this. We decided that having daycare, we didn't want to have both of us out working, Rainey out working, making enough money to put a kid and eventually 2 kids and then 3 kids into daycare for 8 to 9 hours a day while we worked and have somebody else raise them for that period of time. Parents will go, oh, kids are resilient. They'll come home. When you've got half of their waking hours are spent with somebody else, think about that. So we made that decision. And we said, it's going to be tight around here. It's going to be one income in a 2-income society. But we did it. And she stayed home and is a mom and still is a mom. So sometimes parents squash a sense of freedom in their children before it can fully form, which might have been true in your childhood. And if your childhood was devoid of playful and carefree memories, can you consider how and why such play would be essential to all people's emotional health and mental well being throughout the life cycle, regardless of age? Imagine if you had no opportunity to feel free enough to play. Sarah says, is happiness a matter of perspective and choice? I think so to a certain extent, Sarah, but I also think those choices are things that you do. You make certain choices to bring yourself the freedom to be happy and joyful and playful. Those things are the outcome of that, I think. Even those whose lives have been marred by abuse, I almost called Wendy Rainey. Wendy and I spoke about yesterday on Robertson Robertson. Abuse, impoverishment, oppression, the things that can close your eyes and your imagination, lying on beaches or other restful states or places, are just gone. And so likewise, our minds seek rest to feel soothed and to find our happiness. So why do we resist the calling of what provides intrinsic rest? I find that sometimes I work so much around here to get things done because I'm trying to accomplish a goal. I'm trying to get somewhere. I'm trying to make something happen. And in my own way of doing things, I'm constantly moving. I'm constantly doing something. And those are the things, though, that I miss rest. I don't have time to rest. I got a book sitting here. I got a 300 books here on my read list. I buy books because I like them and I want to have them. And I'm going to read them. But I bought a book here. I think I shared this with you when I got it. But I got this book, An Indigenous People's History of the United States. I wanted to read this, especially since I had read Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. I haven't cracked the cover, and I've had this for a month. Just don't have time to read. That's a joyful thing to me, is reading. Do I have time? No, because I'm trying to make other things happen. I'm trying to get my family to a place where we're more comfortable, where we can do this, where we can do that, and so on. Find happiness. What is happiness? Is happiness making money? No. But I can tell you this, the lack of money sure buys an awful lot of unhappiness. And so we strive for these goals for the goal of making our happiness, creating something. But that's a different topic. That's slightly different than what I'm talking about. Now, you can look at things like addictions of all sorts, sometimes ubiquitously referred to as isms, are based on the language of alcoholism and stuff like that. These are the compulsive use of a mood-altering substance or behavior, which continues even in the face of adverse consequences to oneself and those we love. Isms present in all cultures. They trick us into thinking that play and freedom come through external means, substances, consumerism. Oh, how many of you think, oh, I'd be happy if I could go buy the stuff I want? Me, I'd be happy if I could build that shipping container home I want to build. You know, sometimes Rainey and I do that. Happiness for us is sending the kids off to school on a nice warm day and going garage sailing to go buy some shit. And you don't spend a whole lot of money when you're garage selling. You might spend $30 as opposed to $3,000. I thought happiness would be having that 75-inch flat screen TV, which I saw on sale at Walmart for $495 with Roku and Smart and all of that. I didn't have $500 to spend on a TV, so I didn't get it. And so we strive to do certain things. So consumerism, video games, gambling, the constant seeking of attention, especially sexual attention, porn, the relentless use of smart devices, playing on social media platforms. Now, none of these things in and of themselves are wrong things until they're excessive and they become isms. Sure, some of these vehicles bring pleasure. Going out to a new brewery to sample a new beer and live music is fun. Watching YouTube can be hilarious. I never waste my time on that, though. There are times I've flipped through videos and I'm just going through videos like on Instagram and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? 20 minutes later, I'm like, I just did absolutely nothing but scroll through videos. I thought I got better things to do. Even online shopping for people, being tuned in to pornography. They all have their place. Everything everything in balance. But curiosity and wonder, the natural inclinations of human beings, are not generally discovered through these means. I don't go to Pornhub to find natural inclinations of being human. That's not what you do there. I don't go to a movie. I don't go shopping to find the natural inclination of being human. So how are these human inclinations realized if they've been squashed through childhood experiences or redirected toward technology and consumerism? Can play be reconsidered through the lens of mind and body relationships? Here's the big question. Moderation, said Sarah. That's probably the word I was looking for and missed. Balance, I think I said. All mechanisms to self-soothe. Exactly. Self-soothing. What are the things you do to self-soothe? I had a counselor ask me about 35 years ago once, well, what's your, she said, what do you eat when you're looking for your comfort food? And I said, I like peanut butter and jelly, thick, chunky, strawberry preserved type of jelly, and Skippy peanut butter on squishy white Wonder Bread with potato chips, Ripple chips, and a big ice cold glass of milk or soda pop, whatever it might be. She goes, really? You find your comfort food in childhood food? And I said, well, I never really thought of it that way, but yeah, I do. And you know what? I still like big chunky strawberry preserves and peanut butter from Skippy on squishy white Wonder Bread. When I want comfort food, that's what I go eat. That's what I like. Wreaks havoc on my diabetes, but I take the appropriate amount of insulin to eat one. So freedom in the context of mental health allows wishes and fantasies the room to breathe in your psyche. Now, these thoughts and these feelings enable exploration in the real world toward becoming who you most want to be. It allows us to do that. You need to make space for play, for creativity, and curiosity to do that. So I like when Dave comes over. Sometimes we'll break out in sword fight. We're playing. We don't want to kill each other. We do that because that's our play. That's what we do. See the way we talk sometimes on this show when he calls in, and we'll talk back and forth like pirates. We do that stuff. Oh, Pornhub is illegal in your state? How can they make Pornhub illegal in a state? I'm curious about that, field guy. He said, thanks to your congressman. Is that infringement of freedom of speech? Can you, if you're a practitioner and a what's the word, distributor of porn, and the people are willing to do it, and they get paid for it, and they make, why is it illegal? Isn't that unconstitutional? I don't know. Local laws, I guess. All work and no play, says Matthew Sainsbury, makes a dull boy. That's an old saying I've heard. Yeah, that's been around since I was a little kid. So I remember it from The Shining with Jack Nicholson from the late 70s. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So you need to make space for play. Our fears are usually what keep us constrained as individuals, as partners, as parents. Unfortunately, so much of the freedom that we give ourselves stretches only as far as what fits our culture's acceptable definition. For instance, when we're preoccupied with fitting in or driven toward a relentless need to outdo others, we limit how we can allow ourselves and our children to develop into fully mature, complete human beings. We put them and us in this psychological prison built of our fears, unanalyzed beliefs, and our culture's rationalized dictates. Maybe that's what Field Guy's even talking about. Some people might see that as a good thing. Other people might say, you can't do that. So, for example, eating disorders, porn addictions signal this kind of entrapment of mind, body, and spirit. Now, I've seen porn. I can tell you what, I'm not addicted to porn. But I've watched porn in my life. Ain't no big shakes. But people will get it. It's like saying marijuana is not a big deal until you find out there are cartels out there that kill people over marijuana. So you can go that deep into it, or you can see everything in moderation, as Sarah said. That's the only site that's following the ban, though. Nice. This is Field Guy. Again, that escapes me why there's a ban on that. It's set from a moral code, a particular moral code, not a constitutional one. All right. Sometimes individuals enter treatment for whatever their ism is precisely due to the relentlessness of their sex life, which has left them feeling empty, longing, self-loathing. Sex is readily available and as accessible as alcohol or chocolate or quick fixes surround us. However, it's often exhaustion, more profound depression, diminishing excitation that ultimately leads some to want to understand what drives them toward repeated, incessant, or compulsive sex or porn use. That's on porn. So filling a void with sex and pursuing many sexual conquests doesn't really provide sexual fulfillment. I know this. Instead, insecurities, displaced anger, a need for power to combat low self-worth, sexual inadequacy, fear of intimacy, body dissatisfaction. I can tell you this, folks. Not that you need to know this, but I'll share this information. I always preferred a real life, warm, soft, curvy body to porn any day. So I never replaced it. So the body dissatisfaction, that includes body dysmorphia, shame, sexual performance issues due to repressed emotion or feelings of inadequacy. Those can all underlie the motivation for seeking out repeated sexual encounters and alternative sexual communities. Those are all things. So bondage, domination, sadomasochism, that's BDSM, non-monogamous sexual relationships, for some, are lifestyles that incorporate rules, truth-telling, protocols, and clear definitions of boundaries. Many in these underground communities firmly attest to their members' health, well-being, and stability. Members commit to secrecy, hence the name underground community, for fear of social, cultural, moral, and religious criticism. However, blanket statements can also be rationalizations to camouflage pathology and distort psychological and interpersonal realities. Involvement in these communities can also be a rationalization for compulsive sex and relentless sexual exposure experiences. So deep-seated rage, sadness, shame, profound feelings of inadequacy, or histories of abuse can be easily transformed, enhanced, diminished, or denied through participation. Its members reinforce the denial, manipulation, sociopathology, sadistic intent can also underlie some people's motivation to participate in these kinds of communities. I'm talking about the porn communities. And they quickly find a host for their pathological plan. Some of you out there might be going, well, where do I find these communities? I'm not saying it's not like an actual community in the sense of like the community of book readers, something like that. That's what I'm talking about. So research on sexual abuse and BDSM concluded that the prevalence of self-reported sexual childhood abuse was higher among BDSM practitioners. 8% men, 23% women, as compared to the general population, which is 3% and 8% women. You get that? Some of the people who are involved in the porn and the BDSM and all of this and that community, that way of living, that reliance on that to find what they think is finding happiness, the greater percentage goes to, how did I say it? I said that backwards. The people that experience these abuses when they're kids and things like that, it's a high percentage of them compared to regular society. So one study cited regularly and used to normalize BDSM practices was flawed and severely limited. Research by Andreas Weismeier is continually cited in promotional BDSM literature, but very little is reported about the limitations of this Dutch study. And though the researchers themselves thoroughly discussed the limitations of their study and the potentially biased outcome, and they state that participants were recruited from one Dutch BDSM forum website, and the control group of participants was mostly women, recruited through a popular women's magazine. And the researchers state the psychological health of these 434 mainly female adults cannot be assumed to reflect that of the general non-BDSM population. Other research indicates that power is at the core of BDSM. And those interactions, pain, bondage, humiliations, are tools or methods to achieve the mutual creation of hierarchical status. I will also let you in on a little secret. I don't need to have Rainey dress up in leather and spikes and whip me while putting a ball gag in my mouth to make me enjoy sex. I can do it just fine with none of that bullshit. Just so you know. I'm just saying. So, now there's an example in Psychology Today. There was a blog post that discussed a scenario in which John, a senior corporate executive, broke the rules of his corporate responsibilities by taking a subordinate work colleague to a hotel, a fireable offense if discovered, and debasing her. Additionally, he broke the codes of BDSM behavior and protocols by sending pictures of his subs to his friends and his associates outside the BDSM community. Hey, look at these great pictures of the fun time I had with this woman in a ball gag and a gimp suit. So the upside down pineapple community, you know what that is, folks? Upside down pineapple. You know who first told me about that was John Learman, John and Bree. He says, you know what an upside down pineapple means? It means, that you're open to having sex as couples with other couples. And I did not know that for as long as I had lived up to that point. But the upside down pineapple community, partner swapping, now that asserts that a healthy lifestyle among these non-accepting monogamy, such practices, when clearly defined and consensually agreed upon, can indeed reinforce commitment and intimacy between partners. However, when mutually agreed upon established protocols break down, lying, deception, play, and intimacy enhancement are no longer the actual goals. So having sex, I know we just spent a lot of time on sex and porn and stuff like that in this topic on the essence of play, but having sex daily with multiple partners is not an uncommon fantasy for many people. However, deeper analysis typically reveals the emptiness of such play. It doesn't go anywhere. Psychodynamic theory accepts that contradictions and ambivalence are omnipresent in the psyche. And most analytically oriented therapists get that integrating opposites in one's thoughts and emotions will provide this greater freedom in behavior while maintaining respect for self and others. Boom. There it is. So playing in the mind sandbox enables people, us, you could say, to form ideas and to create. Creation is the natural result of fantasy that's taken into play. So in this sense, psychoanalysis is an art form where the gift of insight is offered to patients to open and explore, enabling dreams, fantasies, feelings, and contradictory thoughts in an environment that's safe and non-judgmental. That's the essence of an emotionally safe childhood. And it's the foundation of the ability to know and internalize joy. Sarah, you asked a while ago, do we make this stuff ourselves? I think that I'm paraphrasing you. Yeah, we do. We create it ourselves. We know and internalize things, and we make the creativity happen. The absence of emotional safety during childhood creates a void and a longing. Culture provides many opportunities for pleasure masquerading as joy. That's a big one right there. Those three words, pleasure masquerading as joy. Many times the things that we find pleasurable or the things that we think are going to pleasure us into joy and happiness don't do any of that for us at all whatsoever. It's a masquerade. So when the need to seek pleasure becomes excessive and relentless, perhaps joy has been the missing element all along. So there are possibilities for uncovering lasting satisfaction. Some of them are going to a counselor, talking to friends, talking to people in the know. It's like when I do tarot readings and I pull the Hierophant card. The Hierophant card. Good grief. Hierophant. There we go. That Hierophant card says it's a good time for you to seek out good advice from somebody like a pastor, a priest, a shaman, an imam, whoever you go to, a counselor, for the purpose of relying on their know-how to help you get through something. And I think this is good times for this. If you don't feel that satisfaction, that joy, maybe it's good to get with somebody who knows these things and can help you open up to these things. And so creativity and play can emerge from this. And internalized joy and satisfaction last. So when happiness is understood this way, pleasurable states take their proper place, and they're no longer substitutions for well-being. I want you to take a second and think of the things that you might do that you believe are pleasurable things and things that will make you happy, yet they are things that are masquerading as happiness and joy. Some of us can get this esoteric air about us. Oh, I know all about these things. Let me tell you about it. I know how this all works. I've been there and I've experienced all of that. And I can give you a very clear answer on this now. Those are the people I usually avoid listening to. It's like, shut up. Because some of these things are things that we don't know until we actually have done them. And we realize that the things I've been seeking joy in aren't joy producers at all. We used to call it salve in a bucket. It's like you need something, and here, let me put a little salve in. I'll slap a little salve on that. Sarah's right. Some people can't tell the difference. Sarah says 5 minutes, Scotty. 5 minutes for what? Figuring out how this stuff works? So I think it takes longer than that. Maybe it takes 5 minutes to get on top of it and figure something out, or at least the basics. So when happiness is understood this way, that creativity and play can emerge and internalized joy and satisfaction can last, when it's understood that way, pleasurable states take their proper place, and they're no longer substitutions for well-being. Playing is an intensely real experience that has intrinsic therapeutic virtue and provides self-healing. However, therapy is work, even if you're self-therapizing, which is not a word, if you didn't know that. It's work. And accepting responsibility for one's well-being isn't always pleasurable. So this is where we're at with this now. What is this whole thing about pleasure and joy? Recovering lost states of well-being? Where do you find your pleasure? Where do you find your joy? Now, we can seek pleasure without necessarily having an ultimate goal of seeking pure joy in life. Some things are just pleasurable. I eat a lumpy strawberry preserve and Skippy peanut butter sandwich on squishy white Wonder Bread can bring me pleasure. Bask in that. Now, does that bring lasting joy? No. Should I not do it then? No, not necessarily. But I shouldn't rely on that to bring something that's much richer and greater. That's why they say the love of money, as the verse actually says, the love of money is the root of all evil. That's when you love it and you elevate it. People say money doesn't buy you happiness. No, it doesn't. Well, and I would wrestle with that comment. Money does buy you happiness. Does it buy you lasting joy and peace and tranquility? No, not always. Money sometimes buys you an awful lot of headaches. But I can tell you what, as I said earlier, the lack of money can buy you a whole hell of a lot of unhappiness. So it's one of those things. You got to figure it out. You got to find the balance. So I encourage you to look at the things that you do for pleasure and joy and find out, am I really getting joy out of this? Do I play enough? I like to play. I like to be playful. Rainey and I like to be playful. I'm not talking just sexually. I'm talking in life in general. We do a lot of play back and forth. I think that's a cornerstone. Mo money, mo problems. Yeah. How about no money, no problems? Oh, that doesn't work at all, does it? I agree with you, Michelle. I know what you're saying. But there's the flip side of that says money buys you power. Yeah. Money buys your mortgage payment too. Money buys the food that you feed your kids. Money buys the clothes that you put on your back and the gas you put in your gas tank. It doesn't have to be a negative. That's all I'm saying. Well, for the radio audience, guess what? We got to get out of here. We're going to have the captain's cabin for a little bit after this. So if you're on the radio station, come on over to the YouTube channel and you can join us. Until then, live long and prosper.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Well, hey, folks, welcome back to the Captain's Cabin R. And, this topic, and there's still people talking about it over there. Michelle says, I don't care much for things I cannot take with me after I die. Give me love, moments, purpose, things that'll settle in the soul. I like all those things too. But to me, there are lots of things that I care about that are not things I'll be able to ever take with me. My books, for instance. I love books. I love to read books. Can't take them with me. Even gaining the knowledge that comes from those books. Can I take that knowledge with me? Not really, not in the sense that we think we can. So there is that. But I understand what you're saying at the same time. I'm not mocking it at all. Hey, we got Field Guy just came in. Hey, Field Guy.
Greetings, sir.
How you doing, brother?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Right on.
So,
what's on your mind, brother?
I was sort of paying attention. I didn't get the gist of everything because I was kind of back and forth.
That's all right. Sarah's
I saw
here too, by the way. I'm going to bring her in.
I saw these few people were talking about all these sites like the Pornhub and stuff like that, and they actually passed. They actually passed a bill in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Where if you want to access, not every site does it. There's only like 2 or 3 of them, but it was supposed to be all of them. Where if you want to access those sites, you have to put your government ID in now, your state ID, your numbers, your social security number, just to access those sites.
What?
Because they're trying to cut down on underage stuff and trafficking and stuff like that. Yeah, they passed it.
There's a lot of things you can do to cut down on things that we shouldn't be doing. There's a lot. I heard somebody put it very well just the other day. They said, government doesn't need to know anything about me. I'm an individual. Government doesn't have the right to know shit about me. They shouldn't have my social security number if I don't want them to have it. They shouldn't know how many guns I have or how many children I have. I'm a private citizen. Government doesn't need to know. But government, on the other hand, is public. They are publicly elected. Everybody that's in government, we should know everything about. We should know everything about what government's doing. So really, that's a purist look at it. And obviously, there are reasons you have to surrender certain information. But if you don't want to surrender information to the government, that should be your constitutional right to say, no, fuck off.
Yep.
And it pisses me off after a while for how much, not because of a Pornhub issue or anything like that. It's just reflective of a bigger issue. That issue is saying, well, we need to take away this right of this individual or this right for this individual to express their freedom in order to make sure that people are safe. You know what's going to happen anyway. There are different laws you need to put in place, different things you need to enact. The government's job is to protect the nation. Now, does protecting the nation mean they should do away with a porn site or do away with a book that they disagree with, that they think will drive people to, I don't know. Let's take Tom Sawyer off the bookshelves because he swindled kids into painting a fence for him so he could get out of work. Well, we should take that book off the shelves because it prevents people from being extorted. That's the gateway drug is Tom Sawyer.
Funny enough you say that because my brother works at the library, which is right down the street from me. And that's exactly what they're trying to do with that book and a few others. Yep. And they're putting it on the September thing because they have a big bunch of movements. And a bunch of these parents are saying, well, my kid shouldn't be reading Huckleberry Finn. They're trying to ban all Mark Twain books, all science fiction books. And my brother has to go to these meetings because he's one of the people, he's one of the main office people at work there. He's high up, but he's not the top person up there. So he's telling me about all these meetings, and he goes, he's sitting there laughing. He recorded it on his phone, and he goes, listen to this. And he shows I'm listening to this, and I go, they're trying one of these. I don't know the name of it because I'm not into this anime stuff, but one of them They're
Me
in
neither.
a swimming pool, and they're trying to ban it because they're in a swimming pool. And I'm like, what?
Sarah, what do you think?
I have no opinion because that's way beyond my purview. But in terms of that, but I mean, it's like with any other sort of law, you know, one bad apple will ruin the barrel. So, I mean,
right.
It seems draconian, you know, to do it across the board, but, you know, we always, you know, want to talk about fairness. So whatever we do,
ready, Uncle Dave?
For others.
There we go.
But to get back to the topic of pleasure, because, you know, we were talking about, had a pretty good conversation going in the chat room earlier.
I missed a lot of that. I was blasting through material. So
yeah, well, and then like we were saying that, you know, obtaining of pleasure seems to be a mechanism of self-soothing. And even if you look at, you know, when we were talking earlier yesterday about, you know, the Bible and stuff, could, you know, that whole idea of self-soothing, could that even be derived from Genesis? You know, the fall of Adam and Eve. You know, they were in a state of bliss before, you know, they ate the fruit and lost all that and gained things like pain of childbirth and having to toil away and all this stuff. So it's to me, that would be like a form of hell, to know what bliss is and not have that again. You know
what bliss is, and to have an angel with a fiery sword keeping you out.
Right. I mean, the whole idea
like
of you're never able to go back again. You know.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, at least, you know, life, it depends on, I guess, on your view of life, that, you know, do you view life as a constant form of suffering?
Some people, you know, that's their thing. I think life is supposed to be lived to its fullest. I think you're supposed to enjoy life. You're supposed to, you've got responsibilities and obligations, you know, that you have to fulfill. I get that part of it. Ain't no problem with that at all, and I don't question that. But there are things, I'll keep this taco from falling over. There are things that I think, should be pursuing in life. Life is supposed to be lived to be happy, not to be a drudgery. And I think you do things. If you gear things in life, now this is personal philosophy, you can tell, personal opinion on this, but you need to gear your life around doing the things that give you happiness, that make you happy. And there, Dave is showing us what he's seeing on his computer.
He's got us on the big screen.
Oh, it's on the big screen. Nice.
How got big myself is that a new screen? TV.
See you, Barbara D.
Nice. You got a big TV now, huh?
Congratulations.
Yeah, I got rid of that. Well, I still have the 20-inch. I'm going to move it to the motorhome, but got myself a real TV, and it's a smart television, has the computer stuff all loaded in it. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. You know, we've got everything from the 21-inch in one of the kids' rooms to a 33-inch to a 43-inch to we've got the 60-inch, I think, in the living room. I want a 75-inch in the family. Am I materialistic for that because I already got 5 TVs?
Nah.
Yeah.
James has a big TV in every room in the house, pretty much.
Yeah, you have to. My friend Pete did that. He had big TVs in his trailer when we were down working in Louisiana. He had in his RV, he had a big screen. He had 3 big screen TVs in an RV. One for outside. He had it built in. He built it in especially for the deck that folds out of his, you know, they could sit outside with a canopy over it, like a 65-inch TV. Then one on the inside that big. Another one in the second bedroom, and then one in his. He had 4 of them in an RV. So anyway, Sarah, you were saying.
Well, I mean, at a certain point, you got to assume that somebody's going to have to get his eyes checked.
If
he has to have it that big.
Well, it depends on how close you sit to it. I walked into the living room the other day, and my little girl, my 8-year-old, we have the 60-inch TV in the main living room. She's standing a foot away from it, eating something and watching.
Yeah,
and I'm like Ellie,
because that's like being there.
Back up about 8 feet.
Your eyes will be gone. Trust me.
Yeah.
My eyes are practically gone from that.
But for years, I had a little 22-inch screen, which was actually smaller than my computer monitors are. And I finally just said, I got to get a real TV.
I've got right here, I've got a 32-inch cinema screen on my computer. I mean, my computer's this big. And so it's, I couldn't watch a small TV. Is that a tube TV there?
That looks like a Sony Trinitron.
Something like that. That's an oldie.
Field guys, we got the aliens talking to us.
So get your aliens going.
Because I moved it. Hold on.
So, Dave, how big is the new TV?
43.
Nice. Sarah,
43.
how big is the TV?
I'll be honest.
What?
I only bought the smart TV thing.
Sarah. Oh, hang on, Dave. Sarah, how big is your TV?
Well,
She doesn't know. Doesn't matter.
Is it bigger than a bread box?
She's not materialistic like we are.
Nowadays I don't even watch much TV. It's all streaming.
She knew what a bread box was.
There's one in the kitchen.
So that does something about her generation. So
it does.
Yeah, I'm getting old. Let's put that out.
Yeah.
Anyways, the only reason I bought the smart TV is I saw that I could load, like, it already had like streaming for Disney Plus and that stuff, and that says to me I can watch my sci-fi on a big screen, because I just watch my sci-fi on a little 10-inch tablet right now.
Yeah.
And be able to see Strange New Worlds on a big effing screen.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's Paramount Plus, I think, right?
I've got Paramount Plus for that. I've got Disney Plus for The Mandalorian and Bad Batch and all the others. There's a plethora of Star Wars.
We've got a handful of those channels. See, we stopped cable about 7 years ago.
I don't pay for cable either. I wait until they hack it and put it on YouTube. I'm not paying for Disney.
Now everybody does this now. You know, we started with getting like Netflix, 6-7 years ago.
But the TV has a huge lag time. I think it's like 5 minutes behind what we're doing right now on the phone.
Yeah, we got. I watch YouTube. I watch a lot of history shows on YouTube. I've got History Hit TV, which
I do too.
$4 a month, $6 a month. I can't remember.
Something like that, but it's worth it. I love all the programming.
Y'all watch Story Television? I have the over antenna thing. It's they have a thing called Story TV. It plays all the old History Channel stuff, A&E stuff, and they do a different theme every day of the week. Like one day it's aliens, one day it's world history, one day it's modern marvels, biography.
Yeah. So we've got YouTube, we've got History Hit, we've got Disney Plus, we've got Discovery Plus. That's where I catch all my good paranormal
Discovery
shows.
Civilization is good.
Hulu, and we've got Netflix, and some of those we alternate. Every now and then we'll pick up a channel because we want to watch something. But you can catch most everything on Discovery. I don't ever watch Netflix. I don't think I've tuned in Netflix ever.
I do. There's a few shows over there that I like.
Yeah, I like the Bake Off. So
the what show? Which show, Sarah?
Great British Bake Off. You can get a lot of your
and there's Somebody Feed Phil and the Chef Show and Chef's Table, and there's a whole bunch of great cooking shows. There was a great one. I'm sure it's on the British television thing. What do they call that? Britcom or something like that. But it used to be on Netflix. It's called Lords and Ladles, and they would go to a mansion, one of these big country homes, and they'd pull a menu from March 5th of 1752 or something. There was a big event there, and they have the menu and everything. And they would go out. There's 3 chefs involved. One of them is going to stay in the kitchen and cook. One goes out to forage for all the ingredients. And the third one does all the historical research on that event, who was there, why was the event held, all that. And then they put together a guest list of important people to come to the dinner that they're holding. And they recook this dinner from 1700s, early 1800s, whatever date they end up pulling. It's phenomenal. It's great. And watching modern day cooks deal with ingredients that were popular in the 17 or 1600s that nowadays our palate goes, you ate what? You put what in your mouth?
Matthew Sainsbury, what's on your mind, brother? You're sitting there awfully quiet. Oh, he's gone.
Woo. He's having connection issues.
Well, he's still on the TV because he's going to be there for another 5 minutes. But you haven't asked him what he wants yet.
Call, he'll be back.
There you go.
But I think it's like with anything with culture, it's going to go back and forth because
sure,
it'll either reach a point where everybody will just pay for whatever shows that they want, or they will just merge the streaming service and go back to being TV again.
Something that pisses me off about these pay channels like that, like Netflix or something, or Amazon. Well, our big one is Amazon Prime. You go to Amazon Prime, you pay $12 a month for Amazon Prime. And you get that and you start getting the videos. You go, oh, I want to watch that. You click on it, it goes, oh, no, you're on Amazon Prime, but you have to access such and such through Amazon Prime, which will cost you another $3.99 per month. Or it's you buy a channel to watch a show, and then you find out the show itself, when you tune it in, wants to charge you $2.99 an episode.
Yeah.
And
I haven't seen anything on Amazon that even interests me.
Yeah, so it's not my thing. Amazon works for me. I got Amazon Prime. When I got Amazon Prime, when I wrote some of my last books, I was on Amazon Prime so I could get reference material. And that way I didn't have to always order a hardback. I would order a digital copy and look up the reference I needed. And what you got there?
That's the antenna.
Is that your bong?
That's the antenna.
That's a dual bong.
No, that's the antenna on top of the thing. That's how I get the free OTA channels.
Well, it's on top of what?
It's on a cup.
Oh,
I've got one of those laying over here on the table. I've never hooked it up.
Yeah.
Oh, I've had that for I get 35 channels for free.
Nice.
I don't pay anything.
Maybe I should. I have one literally laying about 2 feet away from me.
I mean, all you really need is like in a little pinhole in the back. If you put like a paper clip or something, you'll just pick up your local stations depending on how far you are from a market. Because I'm in the middle of 2 markets. I'm on the Louisiana-Mississippi border. So I'll pick up the Louisiana stations and I pick up the Mississippi stations also. So that's how I got 30 some odd channels, 35, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't pay for anything. I'm just cheap. I'm not going to pay for anything.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Does it work pretty well? I've never actually hooked mine up, but
mine does. It depends on.
Maybe I'll put it in the motorhome with that TV.
Mine's like half broken because I bought it when I worked at Dirt Cheap, and it was already somebody returned it. And I bought it for like 50 cents, but it works for me. I just move it. That's why it's high, because the window's on the other side of it's that way. If you put an antenna near a window, you're going to pick up everything more clearer.
Yeah.
Depending on where it is in your house, you may get all the channels perfect, but I don't pay anything for that. I get my local channels and a few other ones here and there.
There you go.
Well, and the other thing I do with my streaming things, like for instance, Paramount Plus, I'm watching it because I like the Star Trek shows. But the Star Trek shows, put all their episodes up there. I watch them all, and then it's 6 months or more before they post a new season. So I don't pay for those.
We used to like to watch Outlander, and so we'd have to get stars to watch it, and then we'd watch the season, and we'd dump stars for the next season.
Why pay for it in all that if that's the only thing you're watching on it?
Hold on, Flynn.
Download it for that month.
Sorry.
Binge all the shows you want to watch. Turn it off.
That's what my mom does for when she used to watch The Walking Dead AMC. She would get to certain channels and then she would cancel it after the season was done.
Yeah.
She does it with NBC too because she likes that Blacklist show.
You guys talk for a minute. I think somebody, a teenager, came down to get a can of pop at 10:20 at night. Would not answer me, so I'm going to go check on
a school night too.
Why don't you have Flynn come get on the air? We don't see Flynn very often.
At 7 o'clock. He has to get up. I'll be right back. Dave, keep them entertained.
I will keep them entertained. Drag Flynn onto the camera for me. He contacted me the other day to order a costume.
What type of costume was it?
Something from Skyrim.
Oh, okay.
So
I have no idea
I
what
was
that
like,
is.
it's a Viking-esque video game thing where they have like, I think they have flying ships and a whole bunch of different stuff going on in it. It's
Oh,
That'd be
kind of cool.
steampunk. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of steampunky. And he's like, Uncle Dave, could you build this? And I'm like, totally, I can build that. You want that? I'll build that for you. He doesn't ask for much. In all these years, he doesn't ask for much. He's not like Rowan, who every other day is like, Uncle Dave, could you buy me? It's like, okay.
Speaking of Vikings, did you finish your Viking series?
I've not finished the Viking series, but I did last week go out and buy all the canvases I needed to do so. This has been this last 3 weeks. I've got the nagging urge to paint, but my schedule with my mom has been such that it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
And my fear is that I'll get 2 minutes into the painting and then I'll have to drop everything for half an hour, and then it's really hard to pick it back up. And it's just very frustrating. The other night, every hour, like 2:30, 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, all night long, getting up for things. At one point, she frantically is calling my name in the middle of the night. I jumped out of bed, tripped over something, slammed my toe into the couch by the door, fell into something else and cut my arm open. Got in there, and she was too hot. She just wanted some covers pulled up. And then Dad was laying right there, and he goes, well, why didn't you tell me that's what you wanted? I'd have pulled the cover off of you. So I'm dealing with a broken toe and a slash on my arm and all this stuff. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
You're going to be in the bed pretty soon with all of that.
Yeah.
You're like, I got this injury, that injury, this injury.
Okay.
And it's really hard to get a day off because my brother's work schedule and my work schedule are not compatible. I found an art studio that I could totally afford here in town, but I would pay rent on it and never be there because I can't be away from them that long because she needs so much constant
That's
attention.
why I don't have a studio outside the house. Do you think I could manage having a studio somewhere else?
I win the lottery. I've already got a plan for building us a big studio in Wisconsin. 15 minutes from your house.
If I win the lottery, I've got plans to build 2 big studios for us.
Well, we'll each have our own individual studio. I'm going to put a studio room in for Rainey so she can come and do her stuff, and a 4th studio that's just activity stuff. So if the kids come with, they have a room to go to and do stuff in.
Remember when I said earlier in the show, I said I still have dreams and imaginations. I still want to find a genie in a bottle on a beach, preferably Barbara Eden in it,
or the mega lottery and go that route. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I view the lottery. It's like, when I win the lottery, I'm going to do that. It's like, well, I'll probably find a genie in a bottle before I win the lottery. So, but anyway, I was going to say, I'm sitting down here. I've had a couple of little things like this happen over the last several days. I'm not given to weird stuff and interpreting it as weirdness too often.
Well, I wouldn't say that about you.
I heard the refrigerator door. There's a little, the little mini fridge outside the office door. I heard the mini fridge as we were talking here, open and shut. And I mentioned as I went up, I said, I think one of my kids grabbed a soda. They're not supposed to have sodas after 5:00 at night. And so and I distinctly heard it. Shink, you hear that of the
they make the sound.
Door and shuts. And don't tell me how to say my sounds.
No, I said I'm agreeing with you. Everything has its own sound. I'm agreeing. You can identify it because it makes its own sound.
You can identify that sound. And so I heard it, and I heard it slam shut. And I called right away. I go, Flynn, Rainey, who's out there? Nobody. So I go upstairs. Rainey's sleeping. She's in with Ellery. Ellery's sleeping, all curled up next to Mom. And Rowan's in her room, trying on different outfits and stuff. And, I'm like, she goes, no. I go, did you get soda? You go down and get a soda out of the fridge? No, I haven't been downstairs. Somebody's coming up or down the stairs right now. Who's out there?
Might be a ghost.
Hello. Or it's the sometimes the dog will come down the steps and sound like a person.
Well, Oscar's fat enough to Oscar is fat enough to sound like a person.
And I never really hear him, but I'll hear the dog. And but so the refrigerator open and shut in there. That's when I went up to check. The only two people awake upstairs, Rowan and Flynn.
Maybe the dog.
Flynn's actually sitting at his desk in his computer. His room, by the way, Uncle Dave.
Yeah.
Clean, spotless.
What?
Well, he lost all his devices earlier. He had to get it done. I saw him earlier tonight, and he had the vacuum cleaner. He's hauling it into his room. I go, "Oh, are you cleaning your room?" "Yeah, I want my devices back." I'm like, "Good man." And I said, "I'll give them to you on a silver platter if that room's clean." So I walk in.
Did you get a silver platter?
There. He's got a big thing of ice water sitting on his desk, and he's working on something on his computer. And I said, "Did you go downstairs and get a can of pop?" He says, "No, I haven't been out of my room." And so he wasn't, Rowan wasn't, and Ellery and Rainey have fell asleep.
Maybe the dog was looking for string cheese.
Ellie's bed.
The cat did it.
Yeah, maybe the dog was in the fridge.
I'll have to check the security cams.
Yeah, I can do. There's no security cam in there because that's the master bedroom. I don't have one in the office. We've got one.
You don't have your bedroom wired with cameras?
What's that?
You don't have your bedroom wired with cameras?
Different kind, different network. So, anyway, so I heard the refrigerator. Now I hear stuff like that all the time. I'm not hearing things. I'm like, that was the refrigerator. Somebody opened and shut the refrigerator. Who? Nobody that's awake. Now, yesterday, this book was laying on the floor over there, just in the entryway. I don't remember even stepping over it. To walk back here to my desk, I'd have to go around it or step over it. It's laying on the floor, off the bookshelf. And Rainey came in here at one point, and I said, I walked over at one time because it was doing something. I thought about it on my way up the steps. I thought, why was that book on the floor? And I thought one of the kids pulled the book out. And I said to Rainey, I said, I came back, and when I came down, I put the book back. And I said, "Did you take the book out?" And she goes, "No." She goes, "It's been laying there for a while." Kids were at school. I thought, well, who took this book out and left it? It's a book on George Washington. George Washington, The Forged Experience, 1732 through 1775. So that's what was laying on the floor.
I might want to borrow that.
It's a good book. This is an older book, by the way, I will say.
Good, so it won't be full of woke nonsense.
It's on the French and Indian War, pretty much, this book. And it's this came out it's a first edition, 1965. So
I love how historians always talk around his Masonic history.
I know. This is interesting. I hadn't noticed this in there before.
There's at one point I'm reading a document by this historian, and he goes, and then he took this Lafayette person who we hardly know, and he made him a personal confidant and all this stuff. And I'm like, Masonic brother. Hello. It's, it's like.
They just don't do that just out of the blue.
Yep.
They're gonna go with who they trust.
Well, and when you look at who his primary staff was, a lot of Masons, because they're already bound by an obligation that anything they say between each other is secret. So it makes it much harder to have information slip out.
It's in the Book of Secrets, right?
This looks pretty cool. This is stuff. You just open this up, and you see this. This is some of the plates in the book. So.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of masonry, just says tools drawn by George Washington. Anyway,
his lodge in Massachusetts is still functioning. That's pretty cool. It's on my bucket list to go and sit and lodge there someday.
That's pretty cool. Anyway, good book on the French and Indian War right there. George Washington and the French and Indian War. So anyway, finding books
TV
on the
is
floor.
Just getting to you holding that up to the camera. That's how much lag time there is.
Nice. So I got this wide open floor in here.
Yeah.
The red painted floor, and there's that book just sitting out there. It almost looked it was out of place, but I mean, it looked interesting that book was sitting there in the middle of, and there's nothing else out of place. And I thought, well, how did that book get? Who pulled that book out and threw it on the floor? Why would
is there
pull it
any
out and throw it on the floor?
Any denting on it, like on a corner where it could have come down off of the shelf and
I was
fallen?
looking at that, and it's got no dented corners here, just typical old book stuff. Nothing. And so, and the thing is, where it came from on the bookshelf, you can see the slot where it came out. They're all even across and all set back in about 3 inches from the edge of the shelf.
Yeah.
And so this book got pulled out and dropped to the floor. So, you think of all those things and you think, there's obviously a good explanation for it. But why do we always rule out the possibility of a supernatural explanation just because it isn't natural? So
it's natural. It's just super.
The refrigerator,
it's the ghost of George Washington.
Stuff like that all the time. I get stuff like that all the time around here. And you say, is there? And nothing ever responds. You can't go like, hey, who's here? If you're knocking my book on the floor, go ahead and do another one. I just want to see you do it. I'm not going to get mad at you. You're not in trouble. Just go ahead and do it so I can see it happen. Why does stuff like that always happen when you're not actually looking?
They do that on purpose. They have to, right? It's like, okay, can you please do it? Then they go, nah, I don't entertain you. I don't do it. I do it on my own.
Psych. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'll do it when you're sleeping at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
wake you up.
Just because you live in person, people want me to. I'm not.
I don't have to prove myself to you.
Yeah.
That's probably what they say. I mean, when you do the whole radio frequency thing, when it's supposed to pick up words and stuff, and it picks up words out of sequence, you're trying to figure out what is it. I've never done one of those things.
So
but I swear.
When we first started working with that, I was super. What's the word I want to use? Skeptical about it because it's randomly scanning through all the things and stuff.
Yep.
But for instance, the time we were up at Sauk Center.
Yeah, that's like 12 years ago now.
Yeah. And it starts dropping F-bombs and all kinds of words that you cannot say on the radio. Okay.
Nope. It's not coming through the radio.
And that's for me as a broadcasting person. I went, oh, this is real, because no radio announcer is out there dropping Effenheimers like this.
Yeah. Oh, you can't.
Unless it's in the middle of the night, they get away with it sometimes.
They can get away.
But this was fairly early in the day. Early in the day still.
Unless you're picking up that satellite like Sirius or something, but
then we did. I was doing a film, and we were shooting in mid-January, and it was it was like one of those weekends where it was like 30 below zero, ungodly cold. We were in this warehouse shooting that we'd rented for the weekend to shoot we shot actually 2 films in one weekend, 120 pages in 2.5 days of shooting.
Wow.
Starting on Friday. Oh, we were flying. But we had wireless mics set up, and the bit was the guy's running a 1930s radio show out of the basement of this church. And so he's improvising, and he calls up a mime, and he's describing the mime doing his stuff. And I said, John, call it like you would a baseball game in the day. Okay. And so he goes into the shtick, and he's kind of doing the color like you would in the 1930s for a baseball game, right? Well, when we get back and I'm listening to the audio track, and I say, John, why don't you try it like a radio announcer calling a baseball game? All of a sudden, out of nowhere comes this voice and goes, he's on first, he's running to second, he's stealing, he's that second, and it's a high pitched 1930s voice. And very high tenor, and he calls this runner all the way around the field to home, and all the stuff that would go with it. And I'm like, where the hell did that come from? We didn't randomly pick up a baseball game in January on a 30 below weekend.
Broadcast in that style.
Yeah, and it was like, and we had
talking about calling a game,
and there had been a ton of orbs that we had been seeing on the still shots. None of them came through on the video shots, which were interesting. But anytime we take still pictures, the place, and I said, well, it's full of dust in here. They're just dust orbs. And the video camera's not picking up because we have better lighting and better quality lenses and blah, blah, blah.
Might have been Bob Saget, Roger.
So I was paying absolutely no attention to the orbs that people were talking about in their photographs. And then we had that. And I didn't catch that at the time. We caught that when we were in post-production months later, listening to all the raw footage. And I was like, what the hell?
Maybe that's you caught cool. Like Bell Allen or like a Vin Scully or Phil Rizzuto.
Yeah. Well, and it was clearly an EVP. That came in.
Roger Rabbit. Speaking of steampunk, he says there's one Prime show I enjoy. It's called Carnival Row. Anyone ever watched the show? Rainey and I watch it. It came out a year and a half ago or something like that. That is a show with Orlando Bloom is in it. And it's very steampunky, very, Victorian age steampunk.
Where is that?
It's on, I don't know what channel we saw it on. I think you can pick it up now on almost anything now, but Carnival Row, I'll called.
Check it out.
And it's he's like a detective, a police detective, but they work with the Fae and the fairy folks. So there's something very different, and it's not whimsical. It's very dark and gritty.
Oh, I like that.
Which makes it kind of cool.
Rob and I always wanted to do a TV show. We wanted to do classic fairy tales done dark and scary the way they were meant to be.
Yeah.
That sounds
Rob
a bit
and I
like
talked about
Dreadful.
something. Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah, go ahead. What was that, Sarah? I missed it.
I said that sounds a bit like Penny Dreadful.
Yes, like Penny Dreadful.
Yeah.
That was very well done.
Or the Umbrella, what's the Umbrella Academy or something?
Yeah.
I saw one episode of that and just never got a chance to watch it. Yeah, I like those kinds of shows when they're done well.
Well, because like fairy tales were originally written to scare the shit out of kids.
Yeah, they were.
And make them behave.
Yeah. So it's on Prime, a Prime original. There it is, said Roger Rabbit. Carnival Row. So look that one up, Carnival Row. Dave, you'll really enjoy that. And everybody else might too. Sarah, you might enjoy it.
Yeah, sounds pretty cool.
So, and I thought it was a very well done series. But I like that gritty. One thing I noticed about, and for some reason, not for any reason other than we just didn't get a chance to continue watching it, the new Lord of the Rings television series.
I haven't seen any of those. Are they good?
I saw 3 episodes of that, and it was so incredibly well done. It would be like taking Peter Jackson and his movies and squaring them. I mean, it was just incredible production value. And what did they say they were spending per episode on that? Like, they call it the $1 billion series. So they spent an awful lot of money on it. And I thought it was really well done. Something else I'm really enjoying, and I mentioned this the other night. It sounds like I watch a lot of TV, and I really don't. I watch TV when I go to bed. I turn on the TV and I catch things. If Rainey doesn't shut it off and say, put on some sleep sounds, please. And, so that's what we tell the kids. You can't watch an adventure show at bedtime. If you're going to watch TV, if you want your TV on for noise, you can turn it to a nature show or sleep sounds.
Matthew McConaughey does something where it does recordings where, and now you're laying your head down on the pillow.
Yeah, the ASMR.
And then he tells you stories and stuff.
You listen to those, stories. Sarah?
Not the ASMR, but I mean, I've done,
I've seen some of those
meditations and that sort of stuff, and
that's really
it doesn't really help. but me,
I listen to monks chanting, things like that. Not necessarily. It just comes out that way. It's like
that's my source.
Frequency, yeah.
What I do,
Schulman resonance.
Yep.
To bring up a point that Uncle Dave said, I listen to old baseball games. That's what puts me to sleep. Because there's a channel on YouTube. There's a channel on YouTube, and he usually broadcasts games from the 50s to the 80s. And it'll have the old commercials and everything.
Nice.
And I'll listen to it for like 20 minutes, and I'll be out, and I'll wake up at 6 in the morning. I'll be like, damn, it's over.
Wow.
But the rain, that rain sounds does not put me to sleep. It keeps me up. Or I'm watching like
my basement
TV.
flooding.
Yeah. Or I'm watching like TV because like what I have on right now, like that channel H&I.
Sure.
From 7 o'clock on, they play one episode of every Star Trek in order, like the original series, the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and then Enterprise. They do that Monday through Friday. I'll be watching it. Sometimes they'll put me to sleep too, but just in the dark, just listening to the old baseball games and like the old commercials from like the 70s. It's got those jingles with the disco songs, and it just puts me to sleep.
Be a real man. Smoke a Marlboro.
I turn that on in the mornings around here. I'll put on Rainey's got for massage. She got this originally, but Pandora. And you can listen to all different kinds of radio stations, or you make your own, and genres and artists and stuff like that.
I use Pandora.
And I put what's that?
I use Pandora.
And I turned that on, and I put on started putting on the hits of the 70s, and I put that on. So I tell my kids, they're like, "What are you listening to?" I go, "This is the music I woke up to, when I was your age, and."
Smoking in the boys' room.
Get your love. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Come and get your love. And they play those, and they play all those hits of the 70s. And some of them, my kids like, oh, that's from Guardians of the Galaxy. No, that came 50 years before Guardians of the Galaxy. But I don't know why I got on that. But that's just one of the channels. That's not even a channel. Rainey does pay for Pandora, but.
Yeah, I have listened to Gregorian chants and Cistercian chants and all that stuff.
I had that on my phone, but I deleted that app because I don't use Pandora.
Did you say something, Sarah, in there?
No, that was Field Guy, but but I was just thinking, we were talking about emotions and music and all this stuff. It's all related to energy and what we choose to output. So,
are you just trying to summon the professor?
Roger Rabbit just said
2 more times to summon Beetlejuice. So
Roger Rabbit just said, I listen to Field Guy live streams and pass right out. Better than melatonin.
Usually works. I start off the stream with 10 people. By the time I'm over, I have 1.
He said he's joking.
Usually that works.
He wanted to clarify that. Didn't want to hurt any fragile feelings. So
I need to get myself hooked into the professor's channel and start listening to his stuff.
Which professor?
Started?
Professor Bauer. Yeah. Yeah, you can go to his website and pick up his stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know if he started it yet.
I can't remember what he calls his website now. I've got it bookmarked somewhere, and I'd have to go look.
You scared him off.
Yeah, he's.
He was on last week one day. I woke up and I fell asleep and I woke up.
He's probably listening. He'll hear his name, and then he'll pop in.
Professor Bauer, pop in.
Don't be afeard, Professor. You can come.
Don't be afeard.
We can stay up to 1 o'clock in the morning. Let's go.
Yeah, you have fun doing that. I'll be sleeping. So
you go to sleep, turn your camera on, let everybody else run it. You get to watch Tom, and Uncle Dave will do it, and then
there you go. I can just walk off.
I'll stay on and I'll be like, okay, next.
Well, it's coming round to 4 a.m. and I see there's only 20 of us left here, so I'm thinking we should call it.
I could do a show like an Art Bell show. I just don't because I got other things I have to do.
You have a wife and kids.
I have a wife and kids, and I have to make money for a living. So yeah,
and even Art had a problem with that. Mona did not like that. I mean, she liked the show and all that, but the reality was, when normal people would go to bed, he would go on the air, and he'd be on the air all effing night.
All night. He went from like midnight till 5 a.m.
Yeah.
George Norrie cut it back an hour. So
they only play him out here from like 3, I think from 2 to 4 or 3 to 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
He comes on the same station that Rush Limbaugh did, 99.5. They actually call it, to this day, they still call it Rush Radio.
Rush Radio, nice. Norris had me on a couple of times. He's had me on. He had me on for 3 hours, and it's like, what are you going to talk about for 3 hours? But he has a lot of ads on the show too.
Yeah,
we'd go 12 minutes, and there'd be an 8-minute ad break. Then
and let's face it, the first hour,
a 10-minute ad break.
The first hour, he has you repeat yourself about 25 times.
Yep.
So tell us a little about yourself. So you tell him that he goes, "Oh, let's go away to an ad." Then he comes back and he goes, "Let's hear a little about you," because people have just joined in, and
he's
he has
pretty
to do
good.
that.
I mean, he knows me, which is nice, and I know him. It was from our days doing the Paradigm Symposium.
Yeah,
and he got to know Micah Hanks and I pretty well, and so he ended up being. He's one of those professional friends. That's not like a friend I'd go to the shore with or anything, but he's a friend that is a friend out there. And every time he has me on, he's like, "Scotty, it's been a long time." And, and some of that is just knowing his material, but he's pretty good about it. And he's very personable with me.
But it used to annoy the hell out of me with art. You'd have somebody like Whitney Strieber on.
Yeah.
And I get it. There's people out there that don't know who Whitney is, but you know what? They'll figure it out as we go along. Let Whitney get into his stuff. It's like, don't rehash the whole story every time he's on.
Yeah, I get that frustration with a lot of paranormal podcasts, and they're either doing bad or they're good friends and they're just shooting the breeze, and like we're supposed to be talking about a specific topic. It's
right. Scotty and I do that, especially on Sunday mornings.
Sunday morning's different though. That's informal, and once we get set up again better here to take on guests, I have several guests I want to bring on, but we still are having some issue broadcasting.
What you people don't realize is Scott gets up at 5 a.m. and calls me and he says, "Okay, we're going to talk about hangnails for about 20 minutes and then segue into..."
It's an agenda. It's an agenda.
We have it all planned out. We're scripted.
All work-life balance.
Yeah. It makes it look like improv, but really it's all planned.
Right.
I got like 45 minutes on a Sunday because I have to go to some stupid store meeting again. They keep picking this on a Sunday. Nice. I told my boss
I don't work on Sundays. It's against my religion.
No, I usually don't. I'm off on Sundays. I told my boss, I said, I told her this word for word. I'm listening to Scotty Roberts on Sunday. She goes, "That's fine. I don't care what you do, but you come to work." So I'm going to put you on, and we're going to have a meeting, and I'm going to put you on in the back. I'm going to put you on my phone, and I don't care what they say.
Roger, which podcast are you talking about? I remember the live stream from the last time you were on. So much downtime between actual questions and talking on air. I'm not sure what happened. You mean the show went down? You couldn't hear the show? Between actual questions and talking
maybe he was talking.
Air.
Maybe he was thinking of the last time you were on the Coast to Coast, which I never got to hear.
From Coast to Coast? Yeah, a lot of downtime.
They play every day. He plays old segments on the YouTube channel, and it's cool. Like the Art Bell segments, and sometimes it's him, and it'll be mostly alien stuff. But because I tried to find your interview, and I just can't find it anywhere. Usually stuff leaks.
There's 6 of them.
It's got to be somewhere.
I've been on the show 6 times.
Well, there was a site that wanted to charge like $50 for it, and I said,
"Oh yeah,
because they pirated it." But every couple of days on the Coast to Coast YouTube channel, they'll play like a 2-hour segment. I don't know if it's like different segments from different broadcasts pieced together, but some of them's got Art Bell on it. Some's George Norrie.
What the hell does that mean, Elderberry? Ball bigger than IQ. Oh, balls bigger than IQ. Who? George Norrie? I like George Norrie. It's nice to have a job for life like that. He's done all right.
George is big. Let's face it. So George was doing radio already, but what really made him worldwide in the paranormal community was what's his name from Area 52 or 51? Bob Lazarus. When Bob Lazarus came out to him and said, "Yeah, I want to go public." And because Norrie did that interview.
Yeah.
And That's what really put him on. You're going to be on covering for Art Bell all the time now.
Yeah. Good friend of mine, Ian Punnett, did a lot of coverage.
Ian was a great guy.
Weekend shows.
I miss Ian. What's he doing now?
I haven't talked to him in years. Ian Punnett, folks, if you don't know him, he did the weekend coast to coast. And but he was a broadcaster up here in the Twin
1500.
Cities. He had a talk show on the big powerhouse Clear Channel station.
1500.
And it was AM 1500. That's not going to mean anything to anybody who doesn't live here.
Right.
But so it was the big powerhouse Hubbard Broadcasting. Was it Hubbard? I know it was Hubbard.
Yeah, it's Hubbard.
Channel. And so he had a morning talk show. They ran for 3 hours. He brought his wife into it the last couple of years, and very successful talk show. And that's
Isn't he also a pastor?
Because he did a little thing. He announced it on the radio show. He said, "We're going to have a little meeting where we can all meet live together. We're going to go meet at such and such bookstore over in on Grand Avenue in St. Paul," and they called it the Dead Theologians Society.
That's right.
And so back in, I remember, I don't know what age they were, but it was shortly after my divorce from Annette. And
they were still pretty young.
They were very still young. It was 2003, 2004, and 2002, maybe even a little bit. But he was doing that show, and I would take the kids in with me, and they'd go read books. Flynn was really tiny. He was like 2. And so he'd go play in the kids section, and Sam, I mean, and he'd come and sit with me, and Ian just took a liking to my kids, and he loved seeing Sam and the girls, and he had me illustrate a book for him once that he wrote, and so I got to know him pretty well over the years, but I lost touch with him. He was, I had him as the MC at, it was the same year I thought we had George Norrie. I thought it was 2012, and I thought George Norrie was MCing the panel discussion with all the celebrity panel discussion. But Ian Punnett did too. And I wonder if I'm thinking of 2 different years. But no,
I thought Ian did the second year and George did the first, I thought.
It might have been, but the second year was at the no, because I still remember it. It was all at the Doubletree, which was the first year. And so I must have had them doing different things on different nights. But that's really the last really close contact I've had with Ian, and that was 2012 to 2013. And so we've talked a little bit now and then. I remember one time when Tam O'Hare first came out, which was 2008, and Rainey and I were out at the ranch. I got a call at 5:15 in the morning. No, 6:45 in the morning. I'm thinking that. And it was Ian. Was it Ian or his producer doing the morning radio show here? He did 5 days a week, the morning radio show. And he said, Ian wants to know if you can come on in 5 minutes. I go, I just woke up, but yeah, sure. And Ian did that. He would bring me into a show without paying for advertising at KSTP. He would bring me into the show to plug Tam O'Hare, which was really cool. And there's a I think on the back cover of this, I think I still have his, it's pretty simple, but in the first edition of this, where is his on here? Here it is. Buckle your swash and prepare to have your timbers shivered. That's Tam O'Hare on the horizon. Whether Tam is hauling up the mainsail or scaling the castle wall, Scotty Roberts paints the reader right into the middle of every adventure. Ian Punnett, radio talk show host, coast to coast. So I thought that was pretty cool. I have Grant Wilson is on this too from Ghost Hunters. Tam O'Hare left my kids and I breathless with adventure and decidedly more Scottish. a rollicking tale to anyone brave enough to venture into it. Grant Wilson of Sci-Fi Channel's Ghost Hunters. So that was fun. But
That's
yeah,
cool.
that was Ian Punnett. So, and I can't remember why I brought up Ian Punnett.
I think I asked what he's been up to.
Oh, yeah. And so I don't know. I know he got his doctoral degree on theology, I believe. And
get some rest, Matthew.
Don't know much about him. Matthew says, "Night, guys. Sorry I got cut off when I was coming to join the chat, but I was getting a call.
Good night, Matthew.
Someone in checking out of the night, guys, and rest since I'm battling this flu. Go take care of that flu." So, anyway, and we're almost done here anyway. We got about 3.5 minutes left, and we're done. So, Sarah, what was that? What do you got going on?
No, I was just listening.
What are you doing for excitement this week?
Not too much. I gotta work on my work-life balance. It's been a lot of pushing stuff towards work. It's still trying to close out some stuff for 2022 with government reporting and all that. All these deadlines are coming up. So, but I need to make myself a priority, and maybe in the next month or so, hopefully go on a nice long vacation. Well, not a long one, but a couple days.
Yeah. Where do you want to go on vacation?
I'll probably. It depends what the COVID situation is doing, but maybe somewhere in Asia.
COVID's dead.
Yeah, I mean, or back to Europe or somewhere.
Yeah,
maybe somewhere new and just get lost for a little while.
I think it's less COVID and more what governments and people want to do about what was COVID.
Well, I mean, most of the emergencies about over, so. I mean, they've lifted.
Well, you could always go someplace like Minnesota where it's too cold for COVID.
Yeah,
the germs just freeze outside.
I mean, I want to avoid the cold as much as possible.
I got a point.
Yeah, don't feel compelled to share any snow or anything like that. We don't need it, but it's supposed to snow this week.
I have a point real quick. When I was on my live stream, I was on Google. And I don't know if it was a CNN article. It might have been a few articles. And the headline was like, "Scientists find zombie virus from the Ice Age 48,500 years ago." Yeah. And I'm reading this article, and they were like, "This is a good way to combat COVID." And I'm like, I don't know what this virus supposedly did, but it's like a circle, and they're calling it the zombie virus. It looks like a you know how you light a firework, the snake, and it goes like that? That's what this virus looks like.
Interesting.
It's weird.
That's what we want to do, is bring something back from some ancient period.
Yeah, really.
Maybe it'll go latent like tuberculosis or something.
Yeah.
I always wonder about archaeologists that dig in like bubonic plague pits and stuff like that. What are you doing? Why would you risk that?
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even with the dead virus, the main thing is you want to develop the antibodies in the body.
Yeah.
So,
so they brought this one back to life. That's what they were saying. It was dormant in I don't know where, and they brought it back to life in a lab. So it's living now, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't know where it is.
You couldn't possibly get out of a lab.
I mean,
no, it's
like an Encino Man. It's frozen, and then you thaw it out.
Yeah.
I don't know where the see if I can still find it. If I can get out of this game.
But
it looks like Brendan Fraser. When you said Encino Man, it made me think of Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
For some reason. But it looks like he is up for a nomination for an Oscar for Whale. And from the clips I've seen, I have not seen the movie. It looks really good. Who would have thought that George of Jungle would eventually get an Oscar?
That was his comeback movie, I think.
George of Jungle?
That was the movie where he either put on makeup or he gained weight.
Real heavy. And I've seen him in a couple of little things along the years. He played like a mountain man in something. I don't even remember what series it was. Texas? Or something like that. Miniseries a few years ago. So you see him every now and then. But, man, it's good to see him back. It's good to see somebody who was in as ripped, roaring, fantastic shape as he was in George of Jungle to have grown middle-aged and heavy, and which he was when I saw him as the Mountain Man. So,
well,
and-
he also dealt with a bunch of BS in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because he's conservative.
Yep. So it'll be good. I'd like to see him win that. I think he's a decent person. So, and I like that about him.
The Oscars are this weekend, so I'm wondering, are you going to watch the the red carpet on the big screen, Uncle Dave?
Oh, I haven't for years. I used to hold Oscar parties and be way into it. Mm-hmm. And I'm so disappointed with Hollywood that I've kind of boycotted the last few years. But I might tune in the red carpet stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not completely oblivious to it. I like to get the list of who's nominated, and I will check out who won the following day. But I just don't need all the woke acceptance speeches.
That's it.
I
saw a little clip of Mr. Rogers.
Though I like to see Ricky.
I don't know what year it was, but Mr. Rogers accepting an Emmy. Not everybody gives up and gives the speeches and so on. And he said, in the way that he talked, and he said, why don't we he says, let's just take 10 seconds. He says, and think of the people who got you where you are and the people who've helped you in life. And he said, I think that's the best thing we can do. And he says, let's do it for 10 seconds. And he says, I'll keep the time. and he does the 10 seconds. And he thanked, and people were crying in the audience.
Yeah.
He didn't speechify anything.
I've always felt had a speech in the back of my head for that occasion. And I've always felt that to thank my junior high and high school and college acting teachers that put me where I'm at. I wouldn't be here if they hadn't directed me in direction.
Surprise us. Let it be organic.
Yeah. But
Dave, what do you want to get the Oscar for?
I think you need to thank those people, and they never do.
Oh, yeah.
None of those people would be there without the coaches and teachers that got them there in the first place.
It's very true.
And they thank all the business people, but they don't thank the people that gave them the craft.
And I think when you get up there and you're doing speechifying, you can put that out in a post, all those people. I think you get up and you make it quick. You thank the most important person to you for getting you there. You start thanking 30 people down the line and save it for a post.
It's not 30 people. It's 4 or 5 people that change your life like that.
They go on a ramble. It's like, I like to thank God.
I'm talking about the kind of
gardener
you hear.
Oh, yeah.
They don't usually limit it. Some of these people don't limit it to 4 or 5 people that were the most influential. They're talking about, they'll sometimes name off a dozen or more people. And it's like, come on, save it. Nobody knows who those people are.
Yep. List your agency. List that kind of stuff, but don't list every agent that's helped you and whatever.
I like to thank Bob and Pete and Fred.
Yeah, make it really obscure.
My mother's dog.
That's right. Yeah, I want to thank Pete. You know who you are, Pete.
And Mitzi at that Starbucks in Topeka. Yeah. Thank you, baby. That coffee was the best coffee I've ever had.
I met 42 years ago. I stole the idea from. I'd like to thank him.
Well, I'd like to thank you all for being here tonight. It's after 11, and I'm going to turn into a pumpkin because it's after midnight out east. So does stuff like that do curses and stuff like that? Does it only work in your time zone? Or does it work in the time zone that the curse or the magic was laid? That's a raging question. I shall now go to sleep staring.
I'd like to thank Enrique, who agreed to iron my underwear last night when I came in at 2 a.m. So
in this state, who knows?
Yeah.
State of voodoo, who the heck knows?
That's it. All right, everybody.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Sarah. Good to see you and hear
Always
you.
A pleasure to see you 3.
Good to see your big pink dot with the S in the middle. And hear your voice.
I can do that. This is what I do when I stream. I go, look, there's a logo.
There it is.
It pops up.
I don't know.
Well, you're a true
one. Do I even have a picture that comes up?
StreamYards has a glitch where sometimes you have to, whatever your logo is, like on your screen.
I've
see
got
how
this
it did it with Uncle
Dave's
Dave's? It's got a glitch. Mine's the fleur de lis because that's the Saints.
I don't know how I get mine. How do you get yours? By removing
Take the camera off.
Video?
Oh, well, I don't think you can take the camera off. Whoop, he's gone.
You took the video off.
Oh, I'm here.
You
here.
hit stop.
I just took myself off the video.
Well, yeah, when you hit stop cam, it's going to take you off. You have to have a logo.
Yeah, you have to have a logo set up. I'm surprised you don't have like your little Scotty Roberts in your hat logo like you use.
You have to have one on Google. When you sign into Google thing, whatever your picture is, like whatever your picture is on your YouTube thing, it's a picture of you or in your fedora or whatever. You can set one up very easily.
Oh, there you go.
Or the default is like you would have an S for default.
Roger Rabbit. I would like to thank myself for being amazing and achieving this great achievement.
Yes.
I'd like to thank Mr. Carly for everything.
Yes. Miss Carly. All right, guys, get out of here. Uncle Dave, go.
Goodbye.
Field guy, go.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys.
Bye.
Love you both. See you later. All right, guys. That's it. That's all we got for tonight. No show tomorrow night. It's Thursday. And Thursday already. Remember, Sunday is going to be daylight savings time. We lose an hour on Sunday. We go forward an hour. So Sunday night, it'll be Sunday night and Saturday night, Sunday morning. So it'll be an hour later when we start on Sunday morning at 9. It'll really be 10, but it'll only be 9 by the clock. So you all have a good night. Susie Q, I'm not even sure if I said hello to you tonight. Now that I thought of that when I saw you in there at some point. I thought, I wonder if I said hi to her tonight. So good to have you here, Susie Q, and everybody else who was here. Thank you for being here. And we will see you next time, which will be Friday for Friday's show. And so until then, live long and prosper.